Welcome to All Things Moore County, Moore County's weekly radio show highlighting the many facets of the Sandhills. That includes real estate, lifestyle, community, and neighborhoods. And now, from 4 Properties, here's your host, Bill Sahadi.
Good morning and welcome to the talk show, All Things Moore County. Good morning, Dorothy.
Good morning, Bill.
How are you?
I am good.
We do you remember last year in February, we had a gentleman on, Stephen Gourley.
Yep.
He is the director of music at the Village Chapel in Pinehurst. He's been there since 2014. And he came on and spoke beautifully about a documentary, My Beautiful Stutterer. I believe it was held at, it was about a few weeks after, Stephen, that it came on, and you had a private screening for it.
Correct, yep.
And it touched a lot of hearts, and a year later I will ask you how it's been received.
Absolutely. We had an excellent turnout to it, and something really interesting. I was playing a concert at Sandhills back in December, and one of our patrons, who was also a student there at Sandhills, approached me, and he Googled my name during the concert,
Right.
and the documentary came up, and he was interested in it. And I said, well, it was this past February.
Right.
So, even months after, we're still finding interest in it. Yeah.
Well, good. I'm glad. And you reached out to me a few weeks ago. You are collaborating with Chris Short, who is joining us today, about a 3-day residency at the Village Chapel, May 11th through the 13th, with a concert on Friday evening on May the 12th. And when you sent me the notes on the topic of the show, I want to tell you what I did. I thought you misspelled the word service, and you headlined it. You called it Service Project, or you did not call it Service Project, but I turned it into Service Project. And was so literal. I said, they just had a typo or dyslexic or whatever. But no, the pronunciation was Servire?
Servire.
Chris, good morning.
Good morning.
Pronounce it for me again.
Servire.
And that is Latin?
Yep, that is the Latin verb that means to serve.
Okay. How did you and Stephen hook up? Tell me a little bit about the project, big picture, what it is, just so we can get our heads wrapped around it.
Yeah, so last year, Stephen and I met actually on a very different project. We were doing a cabaret show version of Phantom of the Opera, which was a blast to be on, very different than what we're about to do. And during that project, I talked to him a little bit about Servire and what we do with our work. So what we do is we have what's called a sing and serve mission. So we go into communities and we partner with a local nonprofit, and our goal is to build lasting relationships within the community between a specific need and community members that are able to help it. So we do this through a sort of 3-pronged approach. We do a benefit concert, fundraising towards that specific cause. We do education and community outreach, spreading the word about that particular mission. And we invite the people that come to our concert, along with all of the students and community members that we do outreach work with, to join us in a hands-on service project benefiting that same organization. So our hope is that long after we've left a particular community, we've built new relationships and new connections within it to make a lasting change. It's great to do a sort of one-off benefit concert event, but our mission is deeper than that. We really want to create lasting change within the community through our work.
So is the needs that you're trying to serve, are they to build up the nonprofit organization to allow them to spread their wings even further than they are?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if our project leads to a new recurring donor, that's great. If somebody hears the mission and it particularly speaks to them and they want to become a regular volunteer or join the board. Maybe there's students that we work with and they decide, over the summer, we want to put on our own benefit concert fundraising towards the same cause. It's all about trying to find every possible way to benefit that organization.
It's obvious from your voice. You have a great speaking voice. You are a bass baritone.
Yes.
You are intimately involved in the project, and you have other a group of very distinguished people who are in this group who will be coming down here to perform.
Yeah, so our artist roster is filled with some really, really wonderful humans, but also some really accomplished musicians.
Yeah.
Primarily, our roster has ties to the Southeast, just because that's primarily where we do our work. I am a co-founder along with our artistic director, Andrew Whitlow. We actually met at ECU a few years back, and we lived together, and we spent a good deal of time brainstorming ways that we could collaborate and grow something together, and that's part of the journey of Servire.
Does he know Kirsten? Does he know Kirsten, the choral director? Okay. It's really funny. I've lived here for 23 years, and it's amazing to me over those years, in the 14 years we've done the show, how many shows we've done that have been centered on music, whether it be students. That's why I brought Kirsten up. And I forgot, Stephen, who had introduced me to you when you first came on the show, but it's a small-knit community. Music is a common, it's got a universal language, and I think you're completely bought into that, and you use it as a platform.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we fully believe in the transformative power of music, and especially for us, vocal music. And we're excited to be able to use something that we're all passionate about to feed something else that we're passionate about, which is making a difference in communities all over the place.
So the 3-day residency, in addition to the concert, tell me about what's happening around that residency.
Yeah, so we have partnered with Sleep in Heavenly Peace, which is an organization that provides beds and bedding for those in need. And we're really excited to be partnering with them. That was partially through Stephen and the Village Chapel. They had some existing relationships with them. So one of the things that we always try to do is find initial connections that we can help strengthen within the communities. We were first reached out to by Stephen. He said, I have a spot on the concert series. I have X amount of funding. What does it take to bring Servire to a particular community?
Right.
And so we got to chatting, and we found a way to make this project come together. And we found Sleep in Heavenly Peace as a benefiting organization. And we will be doing a benefit concert for them on the evening of May 12th. And we'll also be doing a hands-on service project in the morning of May 13th on the following day. And before the concert, we'll actually be visiting Union Pines High School and doing some education outreach there as well.
Very good.
And we just had a meeting with their choral director, and we're very, very excited about that.
Tell me about the Sleep in Heavenly Peace organization, because I'm not familiar with it.
Certainly. So they are more than local. They have a very 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 wide ranging footprint, and essentially as Chris said, and the way the village chapel has partnered is essentially on a Saturday morning. Our members gather with some folks from their organization and build beds. Just build beds from scratch, and we'll have a set number to accomplish, and then those go to people as mentioned, with people that don't have beds, and largely geared towards young people.
Yeah. It's not a surprise to me that you selected the Village Chapel, or Moore County for that matter. We have a lot of plentiful areas, and we have a lot of people in need, all living in the same county, and that is who you're targeting, I guess. And it's a tale of two counties. Amidst all the beauty and the glory of Moore County, there's poverty. There are people who kind of fly under the radar, and is so your concert is going to be open to anybody who wants to come in. It's not just members of the church.
Absolutely. The one of the main things. So this concert is the third such collaboration between the music program at the Village Chapel and our
Right.
outreach program. We the goal has always been to identify a local organization, and not only to help raise funds, or in this case to take on a focused service project, but to also bring awareness, because as you say, as comfortable as many of us are, there is equally as many, if not more, who are not,
Right,
and deserve to have their selves known, and that need known about. And the Village Chapel is such a centrally located
yes,
place, and with the gorgeous space that we have, we can come and make music, and also to talk about something that really needs to be talked about.
yeah. Chris, if this is your first foray into Moore County, I don't know that it is, but you're out of Raleigh.
I am based out of Raleigh. I used to be with the North Carolina Symphony in the education department, so I've been in and around Moore County a couple of times doing some work, but I haven't gotten to spend this level of concentrated time here yet.
So it's living here for 23 years. I can tell you that it is a very giving community. In spite of what I said before, people are very open to helping others, and events like this usually get a very good reception, and you bring in new people into the fold, and it's not just something that it's not a social media post like here's a GoFundMe page, here's this event. It's very personal, and the music. We need to talk about the music is sensational.
Yeah, I mean, that's really wonderful to hear, especially because I really do want to reiterate that our mission is one of lasting change. We hope that this is the first of many visits to the Pinehurst community over the next many, many, many years to come. So that's really wonderful to hear, and I know that we're really excited to bring our music here.
You have a very eclectic population in Moore County. You have an artsy population, and you have it's a mixed, for sure, population, but there are a lot of people from New England, from the Northeast, from the Midwest, who have called Moore County home, and the arts are on a trajectory here, straight up. It's been so many of our shows revolve around the arts, whether it be theater, whether it be music, whether it be students. So this is just another great layer, and I think you'll be very pleased with the response that you get.
Yeah, we are really looking forward to the concert.
You've done this before. This is not your first foray. You've done this in different. Where do you travel?
We travel pretty much all over the Southeast.
Okay.
Our most recent projects have taken us to Georgia and also North Carolina. But we definitely have a goal of reaching everywhere in the region. And as we reach more within the Southeast, hopefully we can continue to grow elsewhere.
Was this the brainchild of you and Andrew?
Yeah, so the beginnings of Servire, before we even had the name, really started in the summer of 2018. Drew had the idea of getting a handful of friends together that he had enjoyed singing with throughout the years, and just invited everybody down to his home in Savannah, Georgia, and said, hey, let's sing through some stuff. Let's all meet each other. It'd be great for you all to know each other as we all kick off our professional careers.
Right.
And so we did that, and I said, I have some microphones and some recording experience. how about we turn it into a little recording project? And those recordings turned out way better than I think either of us expected, and we kind of expected it to be pretty stellar from the start. And so Drew and I ended up living together over the next year during our last year at East Carolina University. Okay. And throughout that whole year, we kept bouncing back and forth and saying, man, those recordings, man, that weekend was so much fun. I mean, how do we feed ourselves and how do we feed all of these musicians through this project? Right. And ultimately, we decided we definitely wanted to create a professional ensemble, but we wanted it to be more than that. One thing that's especially important to both of us throughout our musical careers is giving back to our communities. Yeah. I mean, both of us were lifted up so much by so many people growing up and as young musicians. And, we really wanted to find a way to give back to all of those communities that had done so much for us. And we went back and forth on some names and ultimately ended up on Servire, which ironically enough, neither of us knew it at the time, but it's actually the motto of East Carolina University. And so we probably saw it subconsciously many, many times before deciding it. Yeah. And a couple weeks after we decided on it, I sent him a picture of something and I said, hey, whoops. But also not really whoops, because the whole premise of that word is to serve. And it's something that I know ECU does really well. Right. And it's something that, was instilled in us before our time there and reiterated while we were there. And from that point forward, our first official Servire project was December of 2019 in Durham, North Carolina, and it kind of has snowballed from there.
Let's come back in the second set. I want to open with a question about the impact of COVID. Yeah. And what happened. There is a concert. There's a 3-day residency, May 11th through the 13th at the Village Chapel in Pinehurst, and a concert that Friday evening at 7 p.m. This is All Things Moore County. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our second set of All Things Moore County. We are speaking all about the Servire project, which will be happening at the Village Chapel May 11th through the 13th. And Chris, you had a story that made me feel better when you came in, that you had to discuss with some of the members of your group the pronunciation. And they all they were like me. I wanted to be correct on the pronunciation.
Yeah, we have a very funny video that you can find on our website and YouTube and social media and all of the above. And we ask our ensemble members how to pronounce the name of the group, which is Servire, and you just see this instant look of panic go over their faces. And we made sure to include several outtakes as well of even them messing up the pronunciation. So you are certainly not alone, and we are always happy to help with that.
Okay. What happened? You said your first performance was back in March of 2019?
December of 2019.
Well, that was just at the time you were a month away from all of a sudden the world changing.
Yeah, absolutely. So our very first project, like I said, took place in Durham. It was benefiting Urban Ministries of Durham. And that was kind of a test project in a lot of ways. Drew and I agreed to split the cost of artist fees so that we could pay all of our artists something for their work. If the fundraising didn't go as well, that was something that we were always committed to from day one, paying our artists for their work. I mean, it's something in our industry that doesn't always get to see the light of day. And so as artists ourselves, we were very adamant about that. And we fundraised just enough to where we actually didn't have to do that, which was a really wonderful success. And we said, all right, great, let's take off with this. And then, like you said, a couple months later, the world said, maybe not quite yet. And in a lot of ways, that was a really challenging time for everybody, but especially as a young vocal ensemble, especially singers were not allowed to get in rooms together. And singing with masks and all of that hadn't even been thought about yet, and it was a tumultuous time. But we really took it as a time to organize and brainstorm and dream, and come up with a handful of other ways that we could still present ourselves as a new organization. And we did a couple of those, as many musicians now refer to as dreaded virtual choir projects. There were many virtual choir projects.
YouTube was flooded.
Oh
with
yeah.
Zoom collaborations where you had 6 musicians in 6 different locales, and they put together, and they had the time.
Yep.
Beautiful presentations. Like, oh my gosh, how can this be?
Yeah. It was really great to come up with those ways. We actually even had a lecture series. So our ensemble is made up of some incredibly diverse artists with some wonderful backgrounds, and we offered up the platform of our social media sphere to all of our artists to say basically anything they wanted to. Some of them talked about their dissertations from their time in school. Some of them talked about teaching philosophies. Some of them talked about their vocal pedagogy philosophies. So we did have a handful of really interesting offerings during the time of COVID, and we were actually even fortunate enough to have a successful fundraising campaign, which then led to a recording project that took place right in about that 2-week window of July 2021, where things started to begin to look normal again. And, just by pure luck, that was when we had scheduled our time to come together and record a few videos. And, quickly everything was shut down again a couple weeks later. But those videos and all of the people that believed in our mission, even when they had only heard about it through virtual means for the most part, that really springboarded us to where we are today, booking seasons of concerts, doing university residencies, and coming here to Pinehurst to carry out our Sing and Serve mission.
Your ensemble is young.
Yeah, for the most part, it is comprised of younger professional musicians. Everybody is post-grad, but yeah, it's a varying age range, and it's really interesting getting to pull people from different areas, different walks of life. Some of us are professional musicians full-time. Some of us do arts administration work. Some of us are teachers, professors, music therapists. And some people actually aren't even actively, quote-unquote, in the music field outside of their ensemble singing with us.
You mentioned in the first set that during the 3-day residency, you'll be going to Union Pines High School to expose the students to what you'll be doing at the Village Chapel. In that, I'm sure, is your brainchild, Stephen, to get it out into the community for the kids.
It is. I have had the privilege of accompanying the Union Pines chorus now since the 2018-2019 school year,
right?
And their director, Elizabeth Shaver, is a dear friend of mine, and sings at the Village Chapel as well. And it's been just a joy. I've seen, I think, 3 or 4 graduating classes come through, and they're just exceptional young people. And I was really happy to have the opportunity to bring in a world class ensemble for them to meet and hear and get guidance from, and so I'm especially proud of that aspect of this.
A couple of weeks ago, we had Adam Faw from Southern Pines, from Pinecrest, along with Kirsten, who was the choral director, and they were putting on a musical, which was very successful. And Adam was reflecting on the fact that he's been at his craft for 20 years, and that he's seen students graduate and come back, And all of a sudden, we were talking, and we said, you have a legacy. I mean, you make these indelible impressions on people as students, and whether they go into the arts or not, you've at least cultivated an appreciation for the arts, which is the goal. And he sat back, and I think it's almost been 20 years he's been here. You're on 9 or 10 years now.
It was 9 years in March. Well, yes,
Okay.
March for first. Yeah.
You're not far behind.
Coming up.
But reaching out to the schools, reaching out to the students is a great way to open your arms. And I think I applaud you for involving the students in this. And hopefully other organizations, students, will come. Is this concert? Tell me about the concert itself. What is the fee for it? How does it work? Tickets? How does all that come together?
So I'm happy to. So at the time that I started the Village Chapel Music series, it was very important to me that we offered musical presentations at no charge.
Right.
That they be accessible to everyone.
Right.
And I've been able to hold to that almost entirely. And so audience members are able to show up at no cost. And what we do ask in this case is that there may be an opportunity for fundraising. What we are inviting folks to do is come and take part in the building of beds. And so there's not the only real admission cost is that you come with an open mind and an open heart,
and perhaps donations. Okay.
Yes.
So that brings me to Chris. That brings me to the passion that you have and your group has committed to. Comes at a cost too, because this is not a Fortune 500 project.
Right.
You're doing this from your heart. This is a service project, and you have to pay lip service to the costs involved in doing this. But so you're committed. Do you and your ensemble have goals or visions of perhaps recording and distributing some of the music that you're putting together going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, we have this mission of lasting change, and part of the way that we carry out that mission is by investing in ourselves and investing in our own infrastructure so that we can be in front of more presenting organizations,
right.
Go to more communities,
right.
Make return visits to communities. And there are a multitude of ways that we can make that possible. And one of them is certainly releasing some commercial recordings. That's something that I am really hopeful for at the end of this upcoming season. Definitely planning more concerts, potentially doing some composer in residence projects, and bringing in some living composers from a handful of different communities, even some that actually have some roots here as well. And all of that takes a large investment of passion and time, but it also does rely on the support of some incredibly generous donors that we are very fortunate to have.
Mm-hmm. People can go onto your website and take a look at the ensemble and see some of the videos that you do.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have a handful of recordings available specifically on YouTube and Facebook. And we are very, very proud of how those came out, and it's a really great portrayal of some of the work that we do. And we definitely have some more on the way. And the website is
www.servire, no, I mispronounced it, chorus.com.
Yes, www.servirechorus.com, SERVIRE.
Okay. We're going to come back in the third set. We're going to speak with Chris Short and Stephen Gourley a little bit more about the upcoming event May 11th through 13th at the Village Chapel. We'll be right back. We're back. This is the third and final set of All Things Moore County. We're talking about the Servire project and the concert being hosted by the Village Chapel May 11th through the 13th. If you want to see the Servire chorus, you can easily go to YouTube. Just type in Servire chorus and get a real nice glimpse of some of the types of music that you sing. I wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah, so on our website, on Facebook, on YouTube, all of the above, we are on all of those platforms, and our videos should be available on all of those. Our repertoire really does range pretty significantly. We do things as recent as, pop a cappella arrangements and vocal jazz arrangements, and we also sing music from hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and pretty much everything in between. On this particular concert, you will definitely get a nice mix of all of those, and you'll also get a nice feel for the high school chorus as well. They'll perform a piece by themselves, and they'll actually also be joining us on a piece that I arranged.
Oh, is that right?
Yep.
So it's got, and you mentioned a jazz piece as well?
Yeah, so we'll have, I think on this one, we'll have to include an arrangement of Fly Me to the Moon, which is written by Blake Morgan, who's a friend of mine, and he's a really incredible jazz arranger. And we'll be doing a handful of other pop songs, and we'll be doing some music from hundreds of years ago as well.
Yeah. Like so many other people, I'll go on YouTube, and me, a child of the 70s, I can go back and listen to any group that I liked growing up, and I can go on Sirius Radio and I can put in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, whatever era. And there are so many artists now who maybe don't have a record label, but they have sort of on their own organically, they've gone out and they have their own subscribers. Do you do that? Do you have that on YouTube?
Yep, we have subscribers, we have followers on Facebook, and all of the above. Yeah, absolutely.
And I've seen, and there's a singer. Her name I think is Lucy Hall. She does a rendition of Hallelujah, which I would think would play very well to the listeners. But now you have these retired singers or opera singers, and they'll analyze the music. There's a lady she analyzed Jethro Tull, Aqualung. I mean, she went out and she has a channel. They go and they listen to this young singer, Lucy Hall, where she sang Hallelujah, pitch perfect. And there's this like cottage industry that seems to be growing. It's a great platform to get started, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been super fortunate, especially on Facebook, actually, to have our videos shared by all kinds of organizations and all kinds of people. One of our more popular videos has a little over 20,000 views on Facebook, and we are growing and growing with every new project.
You were mentioning the Union Pines choir. Mm-hmm. And they're going to perform with you?
Yeah, so they will perform a piece by themselves, and they will actually also be joining us on stage and performing an arrangement that I made of a song called Grows Old by a band, Third Story.
What's the name of it?
The piece is called Grows Old, and it's originally performed by a band that's actually, unfortunately, no longer together. Their name is Third Story.
Okay. When you were in high school, before you went to college, did you have this plan in mind that you were going to be going down this walkway, and where you are today. You're 4 or 5 years out of school now.
Yeah, so funny enough, I actually kind of started my serious musical journey freshman year of high school.
Okay.
I went into my high school choral classroom. It's hilarious to think of now. It was kind of on a whim that I joined chorus in high school. And the first week, our chorus director vocalized all of us and tested everybody's ranges and whatnot. And I actually got a call home from that chorus director, and she was talking to my parents, and she said, "Hey, did you know that your son is like a really low bass voice? Does he sing? Is he interested in any of that?" And they were kind of like, "Yeah, I mean, sure, maybe."
Were you interested?
I was starting to be interested, but I wasn't
Yeah.
super hooked yet.
Right.
And part of the reason for that call home was she invited me to this weekend long sort of clinician process where I joined together with a handful, actually dozens of other singers from across the state, and we sang together. And it was during that weekend that I kind of had that moment of, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is what I want to do with the rest of my life in some shape or form. And so it's been it feels like a sprint of a marathon since then, and it's really exciting to be able to do what I do now and go back into schools and hopefully give a similar experience to a lot of young musicians in a lot of different places.
Yeah. You talked about some of the songs you'll be performing are hundreds of years old. Are they in Latin?
Some of them probably will be in Latin. We sing in a variety of different languages. I know one song in particular that we'll probably be doing is a piece by Thomas Weelkes that you can actually find one of the recordings of on our Facebook, YouTube, website, all of that. It's a piece called "Death Hath Deprived Me," and it's a really, really stunning piece of music, and that recording came across really, really well. So I would encourage people to definitely check that out.
And as far as the musical accompaniment, will you have, are you a cappella?
Yeah, primarily we perform a cappella. We're actually working on potentially getting Steven to accompany us on one piece. But yeah, primarily we perform a cappella.
You do? Yeah. Okay. Have you ever performed Hallelujah?
I don't think we've performed Hallelujah actually, but I might have to look into some arrangements for that.
Tough song.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very difficult song to sing.
Yeah, I've
Singing
performed
a cappella is crazy.
Yeah, I've performed Hallelujah. I have.
Have you?
I have a couple years of music history of myself doing some singer-songwriter gigs. That was kind of my summer job one year during college, as I sang in a bunch of restaurants and bars, and Hallelujah was definitely on some set lists.
Yeah. This is a litany of projects that the one that you're doing in May, but you've done many past projects. I'd love to talk about those.
Yeah, we actually just in this past January did a project over at East Carolina University, which was a really wonderful homecoming for us. And it was the same sort of thing. It was a big sing and serve project. It was a residency. We did some education outreach with the students at the School of Music there. We had some really wonderful Q&A sessions with them. They got to pick our brains about what it's like to become a professional musician in today's times, which is very different even than just a few years ago. The benefiting organization was the on-campus food shelter, which was Purple Pantry, and we did a hands-on service project for them as well. We restocked their shelves. We took the donations from the concert and actually went grocery shopping with it and helped stock some of the shelves, which was an interesting thing that we didn't even really think of as a hands-on service project. I mean, just the sheer man hours it takes some of their volunteers to take donations and go out and get the food and then bring it all the way back and put it on the shelves. Getting to have, dozens of hands doing that work for them, they were just overwhelmed with the support. And we were especially excited because we actually had some of the ECU students join us in that hands-on service project. And hopefully that'll create some lasting connections, and they'll continue to do more volunteer work with the food shelter.
When you're driving around Raleigh, just on an afternoon, and you got Service Radio on, what kind of music do you listen to?
It's funny. I either listen to no music at all because my whole life is music all the time. And it's okay to have a little bit of silence here and there.
Yeah.
Especially as a composer. I mean, even if there's no music playing, there's music playing in here. At all times. And sometimes it's quiet. But other times, I'm a really big John Mayer fan. As controversial as it may be, I love some John Mayer. I've also been listening to a lot of Stephen Day lately. But I mean, I'll listen to kind of anything and everything, really. Yeah.
Yeah. Always a good question to ask. What about Andrew?
Yeah, Drew is actually a really big barbershop guy.
Yeah.
I
love barbershop music.
Funny enough, we've actually competed as a barbershop quartet with a couple of other friends before.
Yeah.
And so I know he definitely listens to some ringmasters and some other barbershop quartet stuff. But he also has a very, very diverse music taste. All of our artists really enjoy all kinds of different things. It's funny. That's a question that we really love answering because we're all constantly changing what we're listening to, and we all definitely share some vein of the silence is okay every now and then.
The event is being hosted by the Village Chapel. Stephen Gourley has collaborated with Chris and his ensemble. It's a 3-day residency, May 11th through the 13th, with a Friday night concert at 7 p.m. It'll be serving the Sleep in Heavenly Peace project, and donations are welcome, and even participation in putting beds together and setting the tone for another giving experience, which emanates from Village Chapel, and selecting Moore County as a great venue from which to broadcast. I wish you guys the very best. People can go on YouTube and they can just type in Servire. One more time.
Servire Chorus.
Servire Chorus. I had to do that. And to get a sampling of some of the talent and what they'll get a chance to see in May. Stephen, thanks for coming and joining us.
Always, Bill. Thank
Chris, it was a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Really hope it's a very successful event.
Yeah, we hope to see all kinds of people there, and we hope that they come with open hearts and open minds.
Right. Well said. This is All Things Moore County. Have a great week.